I think that the best way for somebody to grasp this and to understand how it works is to go back in history. And so, if you in the year 1800, it wasn't that long ago that 90% of the humans that participated in the economy worked on a farm. And when they worked on a farm, they had developed these skills. They could read the weather patterns. They could tell whether the soil was ready to be planted or whether they should wait another year. They could read the feeling of an animal about whether it was going to be sick or not. It's easy to underappreciate them now, but these were real, tangible, valuable skills back then. What happened was that in 1890, automation started to automate that level of the job, the mechanical reaper, the tractor, other things like that, that automated this truly like labor intensive physical labor on a farm. And so the value shifted at that point from physical labor to what they called skilled labor. And the people that succeeded in that transition moved from farms to factories. And in 1940, 55% of the people that worked in the economy worked in a factory. The people that used to work on a farm, the farm employment declined from 90% to 4%, and a majority of people started to work in a factory. Now, it's easy to underappreciate these things too, but people were able to manage production. They were able to feel whether the machines were going to break or they were running cleanly. They had all of these inherent skills that they had developed through decades of work. And then industrial automation came and other parts that started to automate skilled labor work. And the people that succeeded in that transition shifted from being a factory skilled labor worker to a knowledge worker, where they stopped making money with their muscles and they started making money using the information they stored in their brain. Now, so that's up till 1970. And at that point, knowledge work has now expanded. And now about 65% of people that participate in the economy make money with their brain using a computer or some level of information. So the center of these transitions is where is the precise part of human economic value, which for most of our lifetime has been the information you store in your brain and how you apply it. And so that becomes the first thing that gets set based on effectively supply and demand. Right? In 1970, if you were a doctor and you had information, you were incredibly valuable based on the information you had in your brain. Nobody else had it. There wasn't ChatGPT. You didn't have Wikipedia. You couldn't look up your symptoms. Like if you needed to know something, the doctor was the person that had the information. It was incredibly scarce. And therefore, the economy paid a huge premium for that information because it was hard to get. You had to go through years of medical school, decades of actual practice to collect this information. Right. So from there, the entire construct of society gets built around that. It's not the other way around. So once that new economic value is established, then colleges become popular and almost like mandatory to participate. Resumes become the main way for you to be able to demonstrate your competency and knowledge for them to verify that you can be good for a job. Even the level of people moving to cities. People move to cities because you would go to an office in a high-rise building and it collected a lot of people where you could network for volume because relationships and networking in person was how you discovered and got opportunities. So all of these different rules of society get built around this core layer of where is the human value. Now, over the past 20 years, there's been some things that have changed. The first one was the internet, which started to make information less scarce. It was easier to look up your symptoms or things like that. Then social media. Now you don't just get news on your television by 3 different, stations. Now you can get news and information from a lot of people. And then lastly, artificial intelligence, which has been rapidly expanding the abundance of knowledge and information processing. And so based on supply and demand, when the scarce premium resource of human value of information accumulation and processing becomes abundant, the premium on it comes down. So the economy is now paying less for these skills, and it will continue to decline over time, which means, and we're seeing it in the statistics, less entry-level jobs. It's like the worst entry-level job market in the past 40 years, not because the economy is necessarily bad. You can have your own opinion on that however you wish, but it's because entry-level jobs are the easiest to automate with artificial intelligence. That stress, burnout, and mental health it's a crisis considered in America and globally. 75% of people report extreme stress and intermittent burnout. It's estimated it costs the global economy $12 trillion a year. Software development, which was supposed to be the job that was totally impossible to automate because it was too complex, those jobs are down since 2022 and will continue to go in that direction. And so these are the point that I'm making with those statistics is that this is already occurring. It's already occurring that the value of the information you store in your brain and how you process it is going down. The mental health statistics are people trying to continue to play a game that isn't working as much anymore. So they're getting declining returns on their effort, applying more effort, but it's still declining in returns. And that's why you get to burnout, like, why isn't this working for me? A lot of people not like feeling like they are achieving the thing that the success they were told that they would achieve if they did these things. And so when information is abundant, the assumptions about how the world works and what the society was built on start to break. And so that's what's happening right now. And so the question becomes, well, okay, so if information processing is being automated, then what is the next thing to do? What is the next thing? Now, the current sentiment that's being pushed by most people is either one of two things. One is I need to be the best person to manage AI. And then the second one is no matter what, AI is going to take all our jobs and we're going to live on universal basic income. Those are the two prevailing sentiments in the media if you listen closely today. So to cover both of them, being the best at managing AI, and that's being the main thing, is equivalent to being the factory worker that was the best at managing the industrial automation. You are fighting to be the last man standing or last woman standing, last person standing in a economic market that is declining, and the longer that you stay in it is the longer that you are not developing the skills of the future era. So that's something to be aware of. This is not to say don't use AI. It's to say where is the actual human value that I need to develop. And then the second one, that we're all going to lose a job and be on universal basic income. In every historical modern transition, that has never happened. It's not that human value disappears, it's that it moves. And so it's not that it just moves to a different place where humans now have a valuable, scarce resource that cannot be automated, right? So what's the magic question? What cannot be automated? And the way to get here is to look at, okay, so what are the fundamental limitations of artificial intelligence, right? What is it? It processes it gets loaded with basically all the information, all the books, everything that's been created in history, Reddit threads, chats, videos, it's just getting loaded with information about what's said, and then it's able to process it and is at a fundamental level a prediction engine. So it is predicting, based on what you put in, what would be the most reasonable answer based on everything that in the past that it's studied. So when you look at that as a fundamental limitation, then what can it not do? It cannot come up with totally new ideas. It can only look back at things that have already been done, and it can connect patterns. It can make new combinations of existing ideas, but fundamentally new ideas it cannot come up with. A human needs to put it in and do it. It cannot it cannot know what's right for you in this exact moment. It can predict what would be right for the average person based on all the stuff that it knows, but it doesn't know what's right for you in this moment with your values and your business and your life with your children. It will not know that answer. That needs to be decided by you, right? So it cannot have discernment and judgment. And there are a variety of other limitations about it that all root back to the quality of the person that's doing the thinking, the creating, and the deciding. And that leads us into physiology. And so at a physiological level, which has not been explored up to this point, similar to how nobody managed the IQ of a factory worker. The factory worker did have an IQ. They could have done knowledge work. Simply, the economy did not require it at that point. So because it wasn't relevant, they didn't measure it, and the person was never driven to develop those capacities that they always had. And so the point of the book is that we all have these incredible capacities. We call them the human intelligence capacities. The ability to be creative, to trust ourselves, to have deep discernment, tune into our intuition, have visions for the future that haven't been there before for our life, for our business, for the world, for society, to act autonomously, to be intentional, to be adaptable. That these are actually the premium skills in order to navigate this new era, where the conditions of this new era will be rapid change, right? You will be flooded with AI-generated information and content, most of which is definitely not relevant to you and might point you in the right direction if you do not know how to discern what's right for you and what's not for you. Adaptability in the conditions of like new AI changes and all this different stuff. If you are not adaptable, you will see it as a threat. You will see it as a threat and be scared and look to somebody else to try to tell you what to do. And because things are moving fast, you need to be able to pave the way for yourself. And people are already seeing that when there's AI flooded content, that and competent average execution, that creativity becomes way more valuable, right? When AI can send emails and automate text messages and do all this transactional work, information delivery, which matters, that deep human connection, being able to connect deeply with other humans, develop trust, make people feel safe, make people feel have more capability and more expansiveness within themselves, that becomes a premium resource. And so that is what we are. I'll pause here because I've been going for a while, and I'm sure you have a bunch of questions that'll help me continue to communicate this. But that is the fundamental shift, and we call it the frequency era because the point is we had the agricultural era, which organized around farms, the industrial era, which organized around production and mass production. We had the information era, which organized around the knowledge you stored in your brain and how you applied it. And now we have the frequency era, which human value is organized around your frequency, your subconscious foundation, and the quality of your nervous system that allows you to express all of these innate human intelligence capabilities before you start thinking and doing. That's the key element, that you don't choose to be creative. You don't, if you have to think about and try to convince yourself to trust yourself in a decision, that you're already too late, right? That you don't try to sit down and meditate in order to have a vision for the future. That these are capacities that are built that allow these things to happen naturally, consistently.